Hello again. This is Foghorn with another installment of Flight School Academics for this, the 6th of March, 2951 or 2021 if you're stuck in the past. This presentation is part of an ongoing series of academics for the members of the Aurora Republic, the premier role-playing organization in Star Citizen. If you are new to the Aurora Republic or visiting for the first time, let me start by saying welcome. We're glad to have you with us and would like to hear more from you. If you're interested in hearing more from us, we are a lawful good organization focused on role-play exploration and social interaction and are currently active in recruiting on Spectrum and Gilded. Actually, we're not doing flight school academics. We're just going to do some org academics. Basically on our org structures. Okay, so ranks and roles, and then training plan. Then we'll get into flying. Oops, where's my clicker going? Okay, there we go. So just a quick review. It's been over a year, so as a review, and for the new folks that have joined the org within that last year who haven't, just figured we'd hit the org structures real quick, and then we'll get into flying tonight. So basically on the RSI webpage, they have on the RSI page for our organization, the Aurora Republic, they've got ranks and roles. Just give a quick explanation on what those are. So obviously the two founders for the org is Chandran and myself. The senior staff rank is any citizen who's leading one of the departments. So in other words, leadership, or one of the 3 department level agencies, or the DoD chiefs of staff. Staff members, anybody else who's holding an official position within our role play government, or any of the DoD unit commanders and above. So veteran is anybody, any citizen who's been with us for at least 6 months and has completed their basic qual and UPT certs. And then of course any DoD personnel below the unit commander level. And then a citizen is any member who has completed their basic qual, and the immigrant on rank is, of course, is the new folks who've joined us but have not gone in and flown with us or participated in an event with us. So those are the 6 RSI ranks and how we parceled those out and what their quals are. The roles on RSI, of course, the founders is myself and Chandran. So leadership is what RSI originally called officer. We just renamed it to leadership, and obviously consists with anybody who's also got the senior staff rank. Communications was the RSI's marketing role, and so we renamed that to communications. And obviously on the RSI Aurora Republic org page, then the communications folks have limited accesses over into being able to change our branding and stuff on our website, or excuse me, on the RSI website's org page for us, so they can do those side of communication stuff. And then the RSI recruitment role we renamed to Citizen Services, which shouldn't be a surprise to anybody, which is basically the folks who can do the recruiting and onboarding for new members as they come in, like with that sort of thing. We duplicated a similar system over into Gilded, so that shouldn't be surprising to anybody, and the permissions associated with. So obviously, Chandran and I, as the founders, we've got the server level permissions for our Gilded server. So we're the only ones that can accidentally hit the delete button and kill the entire server. So that is protected from everybody else. That's the founders are the only ones that can make that mistake. Leadership pretty much have all. The leadership folks with their names in red have all of the other permissions, with the exception of those highest server owner level items, like being able to delete the server completely, for obvious reasons why we would protect that. And then, of course, citizen in the dark blue and immigrant in the light blue pretty much have most of the other permissions as far as being able to read, write, send, voice chat, stream, invite other folks, do emojis, all that sort of stuff, post anywhere. With the one exception is that the basic, you pretty much have all those permissions, except for you can't manipulate other people's stuff. So you can't delete somebody else's post as appropriate. So basically the only difference between the citizen and the immigrant permission, there really is no difference between the citizen or the immigrant position other than the color of the name. And the only reason why we did the light blue was so that leadership and the citizen services folks can keep track of who hasn't completed basic qual or UPT yet, so that we can sort of help them along and make sure that they're not being accidentally overlooked or ignored, and people can try to help them out when they see them on. And then what you probably won't notice unless you look on just when you're on Gilded, you look just on your own permissions. You might see some gray permissions down there that are the departments or agencies, and those are over in our the way we have our sub-server groups built for departments and agencies over there. Then those are all permission gated so that only the folks who are supposed to be in there who have, who are part of that department have access to get into there. So, only the Treasury folks can get into Treasury, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So pretty simple. It works pretty well. And if you find that you think you should have a permission that you don't, or something isn't working the way you think it should, our Gilded server is still fairly new. It's only a few months old that we've been completely operating on it. So most likely it's a permissions issue. I've got a role and permission settings set wrong. That's been happening less and less as we've been finding them and fixing them. But if you do see something that you're like, hey, I can't do this, and I think it kind of seems like I should be able to, then just let anybody in leadership or myself or Chamdren know, and we will see what we can do to get in there and fix it, because it's most likely we just have a permission set wrong. Anyway, so go along with that. Training plan is kind of the heartbeat of the organization as far as making sure that everybody's skills are up to speed. The training syllabi is the codification of our official training program. It is our single repository that has all of the stuff into the concepts, how we have that organized, what the lesson plans they are, and what skill challenges are expected. It also lets you know what the requirements are to meet any of the sort of certifications, so you can get any of the bling on your personal record, / also hold certain leadership positions within the org. Daily. Yes, the Speaker of the Republic role is in bright pink. Has no permissions. Anyway, the idea for our training program is to make sure that everybody gets the top quality training program that's unmatched in the verse, as is with part of our org charter. So the training syllabi is organized into modules, and each module ends with a certification. There are flowcharts in there that we'll take a quick look at to do a graphic way of this is how this particular training module should go as far as what event follows what. Each one of those items on there has an individual lesson plan in a outline format that you can look at. So you should never be, no training, no official training should ever be a surprise. You should be able to look into the syllabus if you're going like, hey, I'm going to upgrade to a flight lead. So I've got, Flug 501 tomorrow. You should be able to go right in the syllabus, look at it, and see what the prerequisites were. Make sure you got those done, what's going to happen in the individual lesson plan. Nothing should be a surprise. And then what skill challenges will be expected of you to pass that particular training event. And if there's any proficiency advancement, which we'll talk to at the end of this real quick. So the modules and certifications is kind of how we have it all set out. It's organized into blocks of training that is organized around a subject. They're by major skill set categories within the gameplay. So for example, for FPS combat, we have 3 block modules in there. We have a basic combat training that will have a certain number of, academic and online training as far as like in-game gameplay training events. When you get all those done, then you get your basic combat training certification that'll have some sort of a badge or a ribbon or anything associated with it. Then there's another block module in there for advanced tactical training if you want to continue and get the next level after that. And then 0G operations would be a third one. All of those are within the major skill set of FPS combat, but those are 3 individual block modules, each culminating in its own certification when you've completed it. There are a few that have, like I said, bling for your personal record on our bespoke website, and such as undergraduate pilot training earns you your Aurora Republic wings, which is both software on the website as far as a website badge that shows up. Plus, we actually have the physical wings that we will send to you that you can purchase and actually wear on any sort of jacket or shirt that you feel appropriate. Similarly, for Zero G Ops, we have the Aurora Republic Trident, which is also pretty cool. Flowcharts. Each block of training at the very first page of any block of these block modules will have the flowchart that kind of shows you what this block, how this block flows as far as what academic events, what in-game training events have to be. It's a visual aid, so it's like I said, it's a very visual. You flow from the bottom to the top on all of them, and each one of those events, like you see on the right, and we'll talk about them more on the next slide here. Each one of those also have each one of those is an individual lesson plan. And like I said, you'll be able to go into the following pages after the flowchart and go, okay, so FP100, what's involved with that? And that for that lesson. So the individual types of lesson plans in there is basically by the shape. And so the rounded rectangles, it says, is an academics lesson. So like I said on that last page, FP100 was an academics lesson. So it's the kind of classroom type format, a presentation, it's a video, it's something like that. Kind of like what we're doing now. A lot of what we've done over the past couple of years on these Saturday night training has been have been actual, the precursors are actually there. A lot of times they were the first drafts of some of these academic lessons, and have later on been codified into the actual lessons themselves. Some of them are actually the full up thing. Anyway, the little man with says FPF mission on there is, just like I said, it's an FPS mission that's actually taught in game, either in Star Citizen or Arma, or Star Citizen or Arma, with one of the FPS combat training instructors. If it looks like the little Avenger, then that's a sortie that's going to go into Star Citizen. Could be in the verse, or it could be an arena commander, depending on what that exact sortie is, with an instructor pilot. And you're going to go in there and do everything that's in that individual lesson plan outline. Like I said, there shouldn't be anything in there that's a surprise. Later on, ops missions, for those are actually more taught on the job in an exercise or a field situation with an experienced member who's already certified in that skill set, basically riding side saddle with you to teach and demonstrate, and then let you do it yourself with some supervision. Similarly for a C2 mission, if you're going to be doing like the Mad Dog type of thing, same thing. We're going to, instead of having actual, like FPS or sorties, FPS missions or sorties with ops and C2, because those are going to be fewer and far between and less intensive. It's more something that can kind of be done like, okay, we're going to lick you and stick you to the side of somebody who's already qualified in that. You watch one, then the next one is you're going to be doing it with them watching you, and to help you out, and then you get blessed is kind of the idea. So each one of those on the flowcharts, each one of those lessons has an outline that describes exactly what's going to be done in that lesson to mark it off as complete. Each lesson has a serialized identifier. Obviously, BA 100 would be Basic Aviation 100, FPS 201 would be FPS 201, Fly 401 would be a sortie, a flying sortie, etc. The flowchart itself shows what's a prerequisite of what by showing by watching the lines and the arrows, what flows into what. But those same things from the flowchart are also put over on the right side in the header for each lesson. So for like there you see FL 500 which is the first lesson of the flight lead upgrade. That would be the flight lead upgrade academics. It says the prerequisite is the CMR cert. And like I already said, this is an outline of the instructional items and where you can find them. If they're videos, if they're presentations, if what we're going to do on that mission or that sortie. At the bottom of each one of those outlines, if there is a skill challenge involved, then you can find that there. So in the example of Flight Lead 501, Flight Lead Practice Briefing, the skill challenge says brief a tactical mission. So that is what you're going to be expected to do, and you're going to physically do that to the instructor, for the instructor, in a role play scenario by the end of that lesson for it to be able to call it complete. Already talked a little bit about prerequisites. Everything in the training syllabus is designed as in a building blocks approach. So one mission lays the foundational groundwork for the next mission or the next lesson. So they have to be completed prior. Each of them have the individual lessons plans. You can tell what goes into what by the flowchart, like I already spoke. And it is possible for one thing to opt you into multiple other things. So, for example, CA 200 in the example on the right there, CA 200 Combat Aviation 200 Academics. Now, once you have completed that academics, now opts you to do your first Fly 201, which is basic fighter maneuvers, BFM. But it also opts you to go do the academics Combat Aviation 202 as well. So you can actually, one thing could be a prerequisite for multiple instruction events after that. I already talked a little bit of the skill challenges. Those are the tasks that you have to demonstrate proficiency by the end of that lesson to be logged off complete. So we call that Demo Pro. You got to demonstrate proficiency. And they will be listed at the bottom of that outline so. And last but not least, Proficiency Advancement. So we do recognize that there are folks in here who have been gaming for a very long time, who have even been, we may even have people who decide to join the Aurora Republic here who've been playing Star Citizen for a very long time and are actually very proficient with all of the in-game mechanics and controls and that sort of stuff. So we're not into wasting people's time. So if there is sufficient pre-existing experience, then a person can get logged off on a lesson simply by going in and just doing the skill challenges. That's the other reason why we have the skill challenges. So instead of them having to go through all the academics and all that sort of stuff, you can go, okay, if you talk to an instructor pilot or you just talk to one of the FPS instructor and goes, dude, I've been doing this for a lot of years and all this stuff. I like that you guys have a training program, but I'm not doing it because I'm not putting up with that. The answer is going to be like, okay, then show me how to do this. And if you do it, then I go, okay, great. Signed off. You're done. Nice and easy. We're not into wasting people's times, or more importantly, we're not into wasting the resources that we have allocated to you for training to train somebody with something that they already know how to do. So that's the real reason why we came up with Proficiency Advancement. So any questions before we go in and go fly for science? I'll tap dance around here for a sec, just in case to beat any stream delay. Okay. I suspected there probably wouldn't be. All right, that wraps up this installment of Academics with Foghorn. Hope you found it interesting and helpful. If you have any questions I didn't answer, feel free to contact me via email, Gilded, Spectrum, War Drums, Smoke Signals, Carrier Pigeon, or however you can get it to me.
Sorry, I was late getting to my microphone.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Go ahead. I was late turning my microphone back on. Where would you say we kind of are in sort of theory versus practice for what you just described? Matching up syllabus with what's actually kind of available and functional for people to get involved in.
That's a very good question. We are probably, at this point, 75% theory and 25% practice. Which is, we've made a lot of headway over the last year. where last year when I briefed this, it was about probably 95% theory and 5% practice. But we've got a lot more of the academics completed. We've got a lot more, the syllabus has gotten iterated upon and improved as game systems have come online, as we figured out how to do this stuff with the game systems, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So yeah, it's grown quite a bit. In the syllabus, you'll see that there's entire sections of the syllabus that are basically in yellow highlight, which basically just means, hey, all of this, like, say refueling, the entire section on refueling. Well, refueling doesn't exist in game yet. So that whole section is just basically in yellow highlight, which means, under construction, we'll come back and build this when it exists in game. So there's large portions of it. The entire syllabi document is 4 pages of text at the front, kind of explaining things, and then 46 pages of outlines that at least 50-60% of those pages of outlines are just in yellow highlight because it's stuff that doesn't exist in Star Citizen yet. So basic qualification stuff, academics are not finalized, but they're getting close because of these Saturday academics. We've done enough of them that most of what we kind of want in our basic qualification training exists in some format. Basic aviation, undergraduate pilot training is in a similar state. It's mostly there in these Saturday academic formats, Saturday academic videos. They just need to be cleaned up, codified, or cleaned up, put into a more cogent, shorter, faster presentation, less ums and ahs and that kind of thing, more professionally done, similar to what we've done for FLUG and IPUG. So combat aviation is about 90% complete, as far as, no kidding, complete as far as it's got all the polish and done. Flight lead academics is pretty well done, and not just the academics, but the all the training portions of that is done. Instructor pilot is just getting started. So part of us doing this initial instructor pilot training cadre has forced us to finish a lot of these academics, at least in the combat aviation, flight lead, and instructor pilot categories. And then that also allowed us to kind of come up with what the form, fit, and function of those academics and training scenarios should look like. And then that has been backwards propagated down into undergraduate pilot training and basic qualification stuff, so that now we know what our academics should look like. We have what the finished product standards are, and now we just got to go take that stuff that we've already done on the Saturday nights and just sort of re-record it with a script, if you will, so that it's not 30 minutes of me talking and answering questions. It's 12 minutes of a directed presentation that's recorded in a video, up on our in the library on our website, up on our Spectrum page, and available linked through our Gilded server, so that anybody who's going like, okay, I want to go do undergraduate pilot training, they have multiple ways to get to the same spot, to get to that one presentation, to go, I need basic aviation 100. Boop. Just, okay, go watch that video. Boom, there you are. That academic block is done. What's the next one? Okay, the next one is I got to do fly 101. Okay, fly 101. Who do I just need any instructor pilot. Okay, great. So now you can go in and go find any of the people who are designated as instructor pilots, and just schedule time to go into Star Citizen with them for 20 minutes and go, and you can look at the syllabus and go, what's with Fly 101? Okay, they're going to want me to do decoupled landings. They're going to want me to fly in fingertip formation and, whatever, XYZ. And then you can schedule with an IP. You guys find a mutual time where you can both get on, go in for 15, 20 minutes, go log off those things, ding, 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 done. The IP goes, yep, good enough. And now, boom, there you got your wings. That answer the question?
Yep, thank you. Yeah, so we'll need to be doing some stuff here in Gilded and elsewhere to kind of make clear who the instructor pilots are and sort of how to in contact with them and set stuff up.
Yep.
So that's sort of a communications thing, but yeah. So think about that.
Yeah, but the one of the reasons why we took training ops and broke it out as its own categories for that exact reason. And it's not just instructor pilots, but there will also be the FPS instructors. When we get people designated as FPS, specifically as FPS instructors, then they're going to have a certain, like I said, we'll have to work the permissions a little bit, but we'll probably have to create another role that'll be some sort of an instructor role that will give them access to be able to do things in this subgroup, this server subgroup here called training ops, and we'll have them listed here so people can just.
Yeah, I'm thinking not so much that communications be involved in an ongoing basis, but just sort of making sure that it's clear in specific places who to, sort of the communicating who to actually talk to. That's all I'm thinking.
It needs to be well signposted.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah, but that's what training ops is for. Is like we'll literally put a signpost right at the very top of this. These are the instructor pilots. These are the training instructors, or FPS training instructors, whatever we're going to call it, ground combat training instructors, or.
Mm-hmm.
So, anywho.
All right, sounds good.
Any other questions? Alrighty. Okay, so if picking up with the outro, if you're a member or visitor alike, please hit the follow or subscribe buttons as appropriate. Leave us a comment, and as we actually do read the feedback, so that we can make improvements on our content. You can find out more information for the Aurora Republic at our bespoke website, aurorarepublic.space, or on Spectrum at robertspaceindustries.com/org/AuroraRep. See you next time. This is Foghorn signing off, wishing a very pleasant remainder of your morning, afternoon, and or evening, and thanks you very much for watching.